I have moved to a good home. I leave behind the ice house. Dan Andrews would rather I lived with an ice addict, and that you should too. For some, at the moment, the sex party has more credibility. From 2015. Milne resigned from Greens leadership in Australia's federal parliament. Her achievements include preventing the Franklyn Dam in 1983, campaign against a pulp mill in 1988, implementing a carbon tax, establishing Australia's highest ever debt, failing to prevent the abolition of the carbon tax. Her achievements mean that Australia must cut spending now or risk being unable to support her children in welfare, education, or health. As inept as Milne was, she still managed to freeze out aspirant Adam Bandt. Bandt is not competent either, but the party is full of bigots who hate Israel and whose commitment to actual environmentalism is questionable, so that they are more likely to support BDS sanctions than they are to work for a healthy Australian environment or even affordable health care. It isn't about the personality, it is all about policy, but there is little difference at the moment between ALP and Greens. On this day, in 1527, Rome was sacked by soldiers of the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V. Charles had inherited very large estates and had trouble managing it all. Some Italian states and France squared off against Charles V in an attempt to free the papacy from Charles V's control. But after Charles V won an engagement against French troops, he had not sufficient funds to pay his men their promised wages, so his victorious troops marched on Rome and sacked it. 20,000 faced barely 6,000 defenders. The killing included the 147-strong Swiss Guard who defended the Pope, allowing him to flee, as well as 45,000 civilians dead, wounded, or exiled. It has been called the end of the Renaissance. In 1536, Incan forces attempted to retake Cuzco from Spain. It wasn't solely defended by Spain, but by locals as well. Over 100,000 Incan warriors besieged it for over 10 months against some 30,000 defenders. The siege was unsuccessful. On the same day the siege began, Henry VIII ordered English-language Bibles into churches. In 1542, Francis Xavier made it into Goa, India, where he would do his most successful missionary work. In 1659, a faction of the British Army removed Richard Cromwell as Lord Protector of the Commonwealth and reinstalled the Rump Parliament. That was a crucial step for the restoration of Charles II. In 1757, poet Christopher Smart was entered into an insane asylum. It is doubtful he was insane, but rather owed money. He became devoutly religious, and his excessive prayers were found to be obnoxious. He wrote what are now recognized as his greatest works in the 6 years he was in asylum. Few people today would have heard of him. He died in debt. Few things are more irritating than left-wing leaders making promises they never intend to keep. Irish Republicans murdered Thomas Henry Burke and Lord Frederick Cavendish on this day. In Phoenix Park, Dublin, Cavendish was the nephew of Gladstone, then PM of England. Cavendish had just been appointed Chief Secretary for Ireland. The guilty were found and hanged. In 1933, the Deutsche Studentenschaft attacked Magnus Hirschfeld's Institute für Sexualwissenschaft, later burning many of its books. In 1937, the German Zeppelin Hindenburg caught fire and was destroyed within a minute while attempting to dock at Lakehurst, New Jersey. 36 people were killed.